After years of persistent rumors, speculative chatter, and heated debates in online forums and financial circles worldwide, the long-anticipated moment has finally arrived. For decades, global currency watchers have speculated about undervalued currencies such as the Iraqi Dinar, the Zimbabwean dollar, and especially the Vietnamese Dong. Though skeptics dismissed such talk as fantasy, believers remained patient. Now, that patience is being rewarded as speculation transforms into verified fact. The Vietnam news agency, VNA, the country's state-controlled media outlet, has released an official report that could redefine foreign exchange norms and change the financial destiny of many around the world. This isn't another round of clickbait or a poorly translated leak shared in obscure Telegram groups or shadowy Forex blogs. Nor is it hype circulating on speculative YouTube channels that thrive on uncertain intel. This is not hearsay, this is direct, confirmed communication from Vietnam's Central Media Authority. For the first time in recent history, the Vietnamese government has formally acknowledged discussions regarding a revaluation of the Vietnamese Dong VND. If you've been tracking global monetary movements, then you already understand. This could be the tipping point investors have long awaited. Vietnam's national press has issued its most significant economic signal. Yet, this isn't a theory. It's a public-facing development anchored in hard policy movement. For those involved with the Iraqi Dinar, Zimbabwean dollar, or Vietnamese Dong, this may trigger cascading effects across other undervalued currency spaces. In today's report, we'll analyze what Vietnam's government has stated, break down the motivations, explore why now is the moment of action, and show you how this announcement might shape not only Southeast Asia, but the global financial order. Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar Hub, where we decode the world's most compelling financial stories with clarity and precision. June 2025 may well be remembered as a historic inflection point in Vietnam's modern financial journey. On this date, the Vietnam news agency published a bold and coordinated message across television and digital channels announcing its upcoming monetary changes. While the language used was broad, referring to planned adjustments that anyone fluent in central bank terminology understands, this is advanced stage preparation for currency revaluation. This was not the result of internal miscommunication. It was deliberate, strategic, and aligned with Vietnam's goals for regional economic leadership. Timing was no accident. Vietnam linked this public message with its scheduled participation in the ASEAN Monetary Summit, a key event where financial integration, digital currency implementation, and regional trade structures are debated. By announcing now, Vietnam signaled both to local institutions and the global community that its currency deserves to be revalued to match its true economic potential. Among the most revealing moments was the declaration by Deputy Finance Minister Lane Hung, who said, "The Vietnamese Dong's current structure does not reflect the strength of our macroeconomic fundamentals." That line alone suggests imminent change. Governments don't float phrases like that unless there is serious work underway behind the scenes. In the language of finance, that quote reads like a siren for incoming policy change. This isn't about testing the waters or placating currency watchers with ambiguity. It's a signal, the most direct public indication yet, that the Vietnamese Dong is being prepared for an upward revaluation. And make no mistake, this is the clearest and most official acknowledgement we've ever seen in Vietnam's modern history on the subject. The financial world is officially on notice. Vietnam is no longer the war-scarred country rebuilding its foundations. It is a rising powerhouse in Southeast Asia. Its GDP has outpaced regional and global averages for years, hitting annual growth rates above 5%, fueled by booming industrial production and a strong surge in tech exports. Billions in foreign investment from Japan, Korea, and the US continue to flow in. Despite this success, the Dong remains grossly undervalued, floating near 24.000 per USD, an exchange rate that no longer reflects the real state of Vietnam's economic fundamentals. Why hasn't the Dong adjusted until now? Because for over 20 years, Vietnam has used a deliberately undervalued currency to bolster export-driven growth. A weak Dong made Vietnamese goods cheaper and more attractive globally. Foreign companies seeking alternatives to costly Chinese production flocked to Vietnam to cut labor and logistics costs. This export-first model transformed Vietnam into a leader in high-end electronics and industrial manufacturing. But that strategy has run its course. Vietnam's new economic reality demands currency realignment. With inflation under control and foreign reserves at record highs, there is no longer a policy need to keep the dong artificially low. Moreover, to fully integrate into regional trade agreements, especially those involving digital payments and ASEAN economic strategies, Vietnam must stabilize and properly value its currency. Analysts agree that we're likely to see a two-phase process. First, a controlled float to let market forces gradually lift the currency, followed by a formal revaluation supported by Vietnam's ample foreign reserves. This is no longer guesswork. It's emerging reality. Banking insiders are not ignoring the signs. From Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, professional traders and institutional players have been quietly increasing their VND holdings. Currency desks at elite financial firms report increased activity tied to the dong. Derivatives used by high-net-worth individuals are showing pricing shifts that suggest insiders are betting on a stronger dong. HSBC Vietnam, in particular, has quietly revised its forward contract structures. These derivatives hint strongly at expectations for appreciation, and they're being recommended to key private clients. In fact, HSBC has started privately advising its top-tier wealth clients, review and potentially increase their VND exposure. These suggestions are neither casual nor random. They are strategic moves designed to place insiders ahead of a larger wave. On the other side of the globe, big US banks like Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase are also adjusting their internal risk outlooks on exotic currencies. While they avoid saying revaluation directly, their language points unmistakably toward a shift in expectations tied to Southeast Asia's financial transformation. Retail investors are also catching on. Whether they hold paper VND or digital dong through Forex platforms, they're reading between the lines. Evidence is piling up from Asia to Wall Street that something significant is brewing. The questions now are, how soon will this revaluation occur? How much will it adjust? And who will benefit? To answer these, we consulted 3 top experts in global monetary policy who have worked with governments and institutions like the IMF. Their answers were even more definitive than we anticipated. Dr. Helen Branson of the London School of Economics confirmed the core thesis. Vietnam's economic strength has long outpaced its currency's value. She noted that when trade surpluses and reserves grow while exchange rates stay flat, it often indicates an upcoming reset. Branson added that this fits textbook revaluation patterns and that Vietnam's movements are clearly methodical, not reactive. According to her, what we are witnessing is the implementation stage of long-laid financial planning, not a short-term correction. Adding more insight. Nguyen Du Temps, a former advisor to the State Bank of Vietnam, explained that these revaluation preparations have been under review for more than 5 years. This, he said, has been part of a region-wide strategy to harmonize monetary systems within ASEAN. He emphasized that Vietnam has suppressed speculation until it could control the message and guide the market calmly through the transition. In his view, this public statement is just the beginning of a tightly coordinated shift in monetary alignment. Tendai Makusha, a Zimbabwean economist with the African Reserve Initiative, provided a global IS context. He compared Vietnam's preparations with Zimbabwe's restructuring efforts, including its move toward a gold-backed system. According to Makusha, both the dong and Zimbabwe's ZIG currency are expected to be integrated into a revised special drawing rights (SDR) framework within the next decade. This broader vision includes IMF backing and may signal a coordinated monetary reset across multiple emerging markets. That means we're no longer dealing with just one currency's rise. We're witnessing a potential global realignment involving undervalued currencies like the VND, ICD, and ZIG. Investors who once doubted the revaluation thesis may need to reassess. We have now crossed from rumor to reality. With formal government communication and confirmation from respected economists, this is no longer fringe theory. It's now a mainstream, publicly acknowledged transition in motion. The implications are enormous. Imagine holding Vietnamese Dong at 24,000 per dollar and seeing it adjust to 5,000 in phase 1, then potentially to 2,000 in phase 2. That kind of shift could multiply your holdings by factors of 5 or 10. A $100 investment could transform into several thousand if those rates are realized. For IQD holders, the signal from Vietnam is strong. Global monetary reform is no longer theoretical. Iraq's progress with digital systems and its rising oil reserves puts it next in line for consideration. Zimbabwe is another candidate with growing promise. Despite its difficult financial past, the adoption of gold-backed currency models has helped rebuild international credibility. If Zimbabwe's ZIG remains backed and stable, it could soon find itself part of a revised SDR basket. For currency holders worldwide, whether Dong, Dinar or ZIG, this is the moment when preparation matters. Hope is not a strategy. The next phase will require accurate information, verified data, and disciplined action. Track every statement from Vietnam's State Bank and the Vietnam News Agency. Ignore online hype and focus on official releases and signals from global banks like HSBC or Wells Fargo. Based on current activity and historical currency rollouts, analysts suggest a multi-phase progression. From June 18th to the end of the month, look for increased government messaging and early currency positioning by insiders. Forex shifts will begin subtly, but noticeably for those paying close attention. The ASEAN Finance Summit from June 27-30 is expected to include digital currency discussions and potentially public WA. Commitments to revaluation strategy. By July 1-10, watch for digital Dong pilot programs and rate adjustments at banks. Institutions may start offering different spread rates or early conversion pathways. Mid-July could bring limited exchange options for private clients. And finally, August 2025 could mark the full reveal, new exchange rates, and international rollout frameworks. The final takeaway: Vietnam has stepped out with historic intent, and other countries may soon follow. The era of whispered speculation is ending. The era of measured, verifiable revaluation is here. Investors who act based on real signals, not rumors, will lead the next phase of financial transformation. We are no longer waiting. The process has started, and for the first time in history, it is being declared openly. Stay informed, stay disciplined, and, most importantly, stay ready.